I wanted to be around the top producing people. I was like, my name is going to be the first one on the board. I'm going to replace this person. He will not be number one for long. I want to be the CEO of my business. I want to grow what they're growing.
Where does this self-confidence come from?
My mama, strongest woman I knew. And I was lucky enough to have an amazing mother that taught me and instilled in my sister and I such a level of confidence. Like, she put horse blinders on us. Like, what you're trying to create matters. It really starts at home. And if you are a woman out there with especially daughters, we have to be careful what we tell them through our actions and what we say to ourselves. And
that's true.
And how we portray the world, because they're listening to that and you're creating their world within that. They may grow up not thinking that they have the right to have a flourishing career, yes, that they need to feel guilty for not being at home with their kids. But here's the thing, you can do both, because we make time for what's important. And so that's the passion behind teaching the women through real estate. And you can do real estate and be a mom because you do have some flexibility. But we've been beat down by life so much that it's just easier to go with what we know than the unknown. But I'm here to tell you that you are important. You are worth it. You are worth a spouse and a friend and an employer that respects you, that sees your worth and helps you achieve the things you want to achieve.
Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman. Today, again, we have an incredible guest, Chasity Rosales. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's a real pleasure to have you, really. I want to add also something else. Last night, we had over 100 followers joining the community, and I want to thank everybody for wanting to be part of the narratives and wanted to be part of sharing and listening these incredible stories. It was a fun time this morning when I realized that. So thank you to everybody listening to us.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. All right, Chasity, let's give a little bit of your background, interesting background, by the way, to the listeners. So Chasity, you are a trailblazer in both military and real estate. With 29 years of Army service, you served as a Command Sergeant Major, a position achieved by only 1.001% of women in the military. Alongside your distinguished service, you lead one of the top performing real estate teams in El Paso, Texas, averaging 200 closing each year. As both a realtor and an investor, you are passionate about helping families, especially military families and women, build long-term wealth through real estate ownership and smart investing strategies. Whether guiding first-time home buyers, experienced investors, or helping stay-at-home mom earn income through referral partnership, you are on a mission to empower women to thrive in business and life. It's a pleasure again having you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, you summed up some of my passions so well. I appreciate that.
Well, it was incredible last time speaking with you and realizing that you wanted to go over and beyond to just teach, about real estate and the potential of obtaining financial freedom. I think it's a beautiful mission. Well, tell us more about you now. Tell us more about where you're from, your background, how you started in the military, and then your transition to real estate.
Yep. I was born and raised in Conway, South Carolina, hence the accent that I've never lost. And I didn't do real well in high school. I just wasn't a studious type. And a recruiter came to school when as they always do. And I was a senior in high school when I joined the Army. I didn't have any prospects for college because of my GPA. So it sounded great to get me out of a small town. And I came home. At that time, I had just turned 18 in 12th grade, so I was able to sign up myself. I came home and told my mom I was going in the Army. Of course, she freaked out. I was like, oh, my God. But I went in the reserve. I didn't go active duty. That wasn't my track. I've been reserved the whole time, but served on, active duty on different campaigns as a reserve soldier.
Yes.
And I have a master's degree and several degrees in between that the Army has afforded me along with this real estate certification. And I always say I came full circle. My mom and dad was divorced, and my dad always said, go in real estate. That's where the money is. My mom said, get your education. And, you know, here I go. I did both. And I didn't get licensed until I was in my mid-30s. Boy, I wish I'd have gotten licensed out of high school and been working in it since. But that's kind of how this evolved, and still serving in the Army Reserve.
Oh, you're still serving?
I'm still serving in the Army Reserve. And my husband asked me all the time when I'm going to retire. And I told him when I no longer enjoy it. Yep. And then 4 great kids and a husband, and of course, our amazing team here in El Paso.
That was beautiful. It's it's hard for people, I think, to even conceive the military being enjoyable. So it's refreshing to have a new perspective on it. It's always kind of looked down upon. I think that it's not as prized as it used to be. So and you are a wonderful person, and the listeners are going to discover that very soon. So I think that it really it gives a new shine to the name and the medal of being in the military. I love it. Can you tell me a little more about what inspired you really to transition? I mean, the money was there, but you mentioned also that you were not great at school, or you thought so, because there is a lot of math in real estate, and you ended up thriving, really.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I always thought I wasn't good at math, but what I've learned is I wasn't taught math the right way to understand it. And my first degree was in fashion merchandising. I thought I'd always be in the fashion industry. And in college, I had a 4.0 in math because she put it in terms that I could understand. She was like, Chasity, if you have this much money and you need to buy this many shoes and this many shirts, because, you know, I wanted to be a buyer. That's was my goal, to be a merchandise buyer for someone. That clicked. Like, I was like, yeah, that's that, you know, in my mind. I could do money math in my mind easily. And so I had an A in that. And that's where, you know, that sparked. And then in the real estate math, the same. And I was on active duty whenever I said, you know what, I'm going to try this real estate thing. One of my friends was doing it. And I was like, oh, you're doing that in the Army? He was like, yeah. He was like, we can do both. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to get licensed. And at that time, I was in Fort Lewis, Washington by myself. My husband and kids were here because I was mobilized there. And I didn't have anything else to do that year. So I just took that year to do my Texas real estate license, preparing for when I came back to do something in real estate. I didn't know what it looked like. I just thought I would dabble in it to invest in real estate, because that was what I originally had gotten into real estate for, not to be what I've become. And I remember that when I got off of active duty, I was like, all right, I'm going to start transitioning into this. I had a civilian job. My husband and I have always been government employees around us being in the military. And that in 2014 is when I was starting to get going. And that's when the big furlough happened. And both me and my husband lost our jobs. And we had 4 kids. So real estate was all I had. I didn't have a choice. And so I, got in to Keller Williams at the time. And they had an amazing training program. And I had an amazing team leader that poured into me. And that year I was Rookie of the Year. I think I sold 37 homes my first year. And I wasn't even really trying. Yeah. I mean, I wish I'd have listened to what my team leader said, because I think I could have probably doubled that my first year. But I think part of that is the discipline that comes with being in the military, the grit that we learn and the discipline we learn. If they told me to do it, I did it. I didn't question it, right? Like today when I'm coaching people and I tell them to do it, they just don't do it. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. But for us, you do what you're told, right? It's just something that was already instilled in us. So if he said, hey, you got to go knock 20 doors a day, I thought that was an order. I didn't know I didn't work for him. So I went and knocked 20 doors or made 100 phone calls, and I just grinded it out because I was like, I got 4 kids to feed,
Hey, that's a very beautiful story. I love it because it's a lot of people, especially after COVID, decided to take on the real estate career, and they didn't realize it's a lot of work at first. Like any business, you become a business owner, really. Even though you are under the umbrella of a brand, there is only so much they can teach you. At some point, it's all about you creating your own business. So, I also want to point out the fact that you actually were lucky to find a good team. Not every team is a good team. Not
No.
every brokerage is a good brokerage.
Mhm.
Keller Williams, it's not the same in Texas that it's
Everywhere.
going to
Yeah.
be. Well, yes, in California,
Mhm.
and I'm speaking about states, but it really goes by branch.
Mhm.
Wherever you have the manager, it's going to change, the energy is going to change, the vibe is going to change, because it's almost like separate businesses. And I think this is something that people don't understand when they enroll with a real estate company. They don't realize that it's about speaking with the people that work there. You really want somebody who cares about your growth.
Yeah. I always tell people I was the CEO for this office for a little bit. They recruited me my second year and I ran this office. And what I always told people is when you are looking for a broker, you need to first understand what you're trying to create. Because when you interview that broker, so many of us think the split is the only thing that matters. So we go in there and we're choosing the person that's the cheapest on the split. But I always say your broker is your business partner. So if you were going to open a burger place, McDonald's would be the first thought, right? Or if you were going to do a chicken sandwich place, Chick-fil-A would be your first thought. So when you're thinking about your business and your image, what you got to find a broker that provides the things that are going to help you achieve that. So you need to interview multiple. And if you say I want to make $200,000, okay, what systems do you have like to help me make $200,000?
Right.
Like I want to create X, Y, and Z. What coaching programs? What training programs? What mentor programs? You have to go in and ask us. You don't know what you don't know, so you cannot ask.
Exactly, exactly. It's I think it's the most important thing. A lot of people blame the market. I think brokers really make the difference. And it's true for every company if you think about it.
It is, yeah, every one of them, and the circle you surround yourself with it as well. For me, I wanted to be around the top producing people. A lot of times, top producing people don't like just because they're top producers and they're either envious of it and they just can't drop their pride and say, "Hey, let me learn from you." I was like, my name is going to be the first one on the board. I'm going to replace this person. He will not be number one for long. But I also worked under him and shadowed him and asked him questions and went to trainings outside early on. The other thing I was thankful for is they made me go to trainings outside of El Paso early on where I started meeting people and learning a different perspective. And that's when I was a team leader and I was going to all these leadership trainings at Keller Williams International office. I was like, wait a minute, like I didn't really know what I could create here. And I was seeing all these people like Ben Kinney, the Tim Howells that were top 50 in the real estate across the country. They had teams. And I was like, what? Like I didn't even know I could create something so big. So I went back to the owner of the company. I was like, hey, I no longer want to be the CEO here. I want to be the CEO of my business. I want to grow what they're growing. If you're not in the right circle, the way real estate is portrayed is it's commission check to commission check, and that's not it.
No, it's not. And the thing that you just mentioned that I love also is that what you expressed in your own words is that there is room for growth. Right.
Yep.
There is basically you start here, but then you start noticing there are more options available. And this is when you really can tap into the fun and the beauty of real estate. So I'm not surprised you took that road. I want to go back a little bit about your on your military experience, because I'm amazed. So first of all, I told you I'm originally from Belgium. We have military, but it's insignificant. I think if we get attacked, we can just show the white flag right away, and some chocolate and beer, maybe that'll make it easy, but we won't be fighting. I can tell you, I don't know what they're busy doing, but they're not fighting. And so I'm very excited about this. Not only you are the zero, you are also the top 0.06 in the army. That's one thing. And like I mentioned before, 0.001% of women in your rank. So I need to understand what helped you break all those barriers and what made you believe you could do it and how did you do it? It's impressive, really.
I've been blessed with good leaders in both my Army career and both my military career. So I want to first, give credit to them. And unfortunately, in the military, we don't always have that. And it's less common now to have great leaders that are actually mentoring you as a career in the Army. So getting to be a check the block. But I had great mentors, and I was a cheerleader, a gymnast. Like everybody was laughing when I went in the Army. They were like, she's not going to make it. But everything in life is mindset. Everything. I don't care what you do. If your mindset isn't right, you're not going to succeed at anything. And I was lucky enough to have an amazing mother that taught me a mindset, almost like I was oblivious to the world in a way of peer pressure, bullying, like I couldn't do something, because she just created and instilled in my sister and I such a level of confidence, because she was a single mom, that you don't need a man to be successful. You don't need a man to pay your bills. You don't need them for anything other than what you decide you need them for. Now, on the other side of that caused some rift in our relationships, because we took that mentality. I don't need you until we matured enough to understand what the need was from them. And it's not just the money. But so I just had this mentality that always I can do, whatever I want to do. And then I was not going to re-enlist in the Army after my first stint. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for this to be over. I had no ambitions to make this a career and go as far as I did on my first enlistment. And as I learned the things that I could do with the military, the things they would pay for and how far it could carry me, and the opportunity it afforded me by these leaders teaching me this, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to re-enlist. But when I re-enlist, it's forever. Like, this is my goals. Like, I am setting these goals to be at the top. And, in the military, we have the enlisted side, which is what I am, and we have the officer side. And the difference in those is usually the officer side has the education, the degrees, because you have to have that to be it. But now enlisted, a lot of us have degrees, and we choose to stay on that side because it's the more servant side, as the officer side is the more analytical planning side.
Okay.
So I stayed on that side, even though I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy because I wanted to be with the soldiers and mentor the soldiers. I had a passion for that. And I just took every opportunity. Every time that my unit said, hey, we need somebody to volunteer for this. Do you want to take this class? Do you want to be the equal opportunity rep? Do you want to be the sexual assault coordinator rep? Do you want to go to mediation school so you can be an EO mediator? Anything it took in human services like that I had the opportunity, I filled my resume up. I went everywhere I could do and took every class, because everything makes you marketable on your resume. That's no different from the military.
But it sounds like you loved learning, first of all. You had a love for that. And you were also a visionary. You had a vision for what you wanted to do, and you're passionate about what you do. You make it sound easy, honestly. I know it's not, but it comes, like you said, you had the mindset and you have the personality. I think you're a go-getter, and that's what's very special about you.
Yeah, my husband's like, when is enough? And I'm like, there's not enough. Like, we got a long life to live. Why would you settle for just, okay, now I have this and that's all I want? No, I want, what's next? What can I learn? What can I do to change somebody else's life? How can I change my kids' lives? It's just like, I'm 47 years old. I'm 48 now. Sorry. I don't even keep track, but I don't feel like that. I feel like, I got another 40 years to give, and you could start a whole nother career. There's so many millionaires and billionaires now that didn't even get started until their 40s, because I think the level of discipline is different as you get older, and you have some income, maybe some retirement. Because if I was active duty, I'd have been retired by now. I would have had all that, and I could start a whole second part of my life. So I think that it's just, what do you want? Unfortunately, I think there's so many women out there that's never been taught that they can have the things they want. Like, I have a lady on my team, and her mother kind of shames her for being in real estate. In their culture, the woman stays at home. They take care of the kids. You don't go out seeking these opportunities. And so it really starts at home. And if you are a woman out there with especially daughters, we have to be careful what we tell them through our actions and what we say to ourselves, and
that's true,
and how we portray the world, because they're listening to that, and you're creating their world within that. And they may grow up not thinking that they have the right to to have a flourishing career, that they
Yes.
need to feel guilty for not being at home with their kids. But here's the thing, you can do both. I cooked dinner for my kids every night when I was in real estate. I was at every one of their sporting events because we make time for what's important. And you
That's right.
control your calendar and you put those things in your calendar as appointments. And when somebody wants to be in that time, no. And I'm just speaking from real estate. I'm sure if you're running Amazon as a female, that might be a little bit different, but you also have the resources to buy the things that give you more freedom to do the things that are important. So it's
Yes.
really just balancing that stuff.
It's a very beautiful message. Thank you for that. I do believe that there are limiting beliefs in woman, in a woman way of thinking that is 100% what's stopping her from really thriving. We tend sometimes to think that we have to give up on motherhood to get something, or we need to give up on career to get another thing, which is obviously family life. And I also don't believe it's true. I think that it's 100% up to you. Do what you can, never stop learning, and don't put stops and limits where there are none.
Right.
I think that a lot of women are going to relate to what you're saying, but I feel that you're a pioneer in the way you are also introducing women to the world and the professional world as well. And in that note, I want to ask you, what was like to be a woman in a male dominated space, and tell me more about lessons that shaped who you are today from that experience.
We're in 2025 and it's still a man's army. And when I say that, I don't want that to be misconstrued as I'm a feminist or, one way or the other. I understand my role as a woman. I understand my physiological limitations next to a man. I don't want equality in those ways to a man. I've never had that mindset. I've never say I can beat you in push-ups or I can beat you in a run. I have physical limitations. That's the difference. I understand it. But I don't have knowledge inferiority to them. I'm as smart as them. Yes, our brains are made up differently. We have to acknowledge the facts. There are some differences between us, and there are differences in our brains, but it doesn't make them smarter than me. It makes them think differently than me. And so I think to first navigate that, you have to be honest with that, and you have to be realistic for what there is. And so I'm not saying I stayed in my place. I'm saying I knew what the limitations were. I knew how they thought. I understood them, because you have to understand them to beat them.
Yes.
And so I didn't care. If they tried to block me, I didn't care. I didn't take it personally. I didn't crawl up in a ball and cry. I still went and took what I wanted. And I just didn't take no for an answer. And if it was no, and I didn't qualify for something they qualified better, I wanted to know what that was so I could then study that and be better. I just didn't see the world in that way. I just didn't see the limitations, and I didn't care that those things existed. Of course it exists. I see it exists. I see it exists today. And especially as a woman leader in the military, and if you have mostly males, there is some stigma there for them, in this position. But that's not my problem. That's their problem. I'm still going to be an amazing leader to them. I have a responsibility to lead them. I have a responsibility to make sure they thrive. And I would never separate that based on anything. A soldier is a soldier to me, no matter what color, what race, what nationality, what gender. My job as a leader is to serve them. And that's what I love to do.
And I'm going to ask you, you actually gave us, I think, the answer by saying you shouldn't care and you should feel empowered by your own strengths and not compare yourself. But do you have a tip for a woman who want to shake off sexism and bias when it's obvious and it prevents them from growing or even just thriving?
That's a great question. If you can't do that by yourself, if you can't self-talk, if you can't separate that out, then you might have to get a therapist and let them help you reshape that. There's so many holistic things you could do as well. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of breath work. Have you ever heard of manifesting things through breath work?
Yes. No.
I just had my first experience with this last week at a training in Phoenix. And there were some things I was trying to manifest within my staff on my real estate team that I just hadn't had the courage to do because of the relationship involved. And I did this breath work, and I manifested through that breath work what should happen in that situation. And when I got back that week, that person self-selected out of our team and moved on. I didn't have to do it, but I designed it in that breath work. And so I do believe in the power of the universe gives us what we need if we call it. And it does give us what we need if we are focused on it through meditation, manifesting, and just saying it. Like, you don't know the power of setting a goal and writing it down. I think the last study I seen that if you have a goal, by writing it down, you're 76% more likely to hit it. If you tell one person, it moves up to the 90 percentile range. And if you put it on like social media and you say it bigger, it goes up even higher. So if you can't do those things and you can't get on YouTube and you can't find like there's so many free coaching things or, things you can do online, then go hire somebody, hire a holistic coach or hire a normal therapist. Being in therapy, there's nothing wrong with being in therapy. Seeking help for something you can't change yourself is a strength. That makes you a strong person. And there's other people out there that's been given abilities to help you do that. So you got to clear the cache, as I say it, like your computer when it's too full and they say, hey, clear your cache history so you can take more. Clear that out. Do not give the people in your past the power over your future by hanging on to something they've planted in your brain.
That's a very good tip. So basically, the monsters are there. You can't change the solutions, the situation sometimes. So rather do the work on yourself. Don't let it dim your light, and make sure that you're still, doing what you love without feeling affected by their negative energy. Because there will always be people. It doesn't even matter if it's, again, because you're a woman or because you're short or tall or you didn't
or a
get
Southern accent. I mean, I've had that.
Really?
I mean, they automatically think you're ignorant with a Southern accent. It makes you somehow more uneducated than others. But I just laugh at that stuff because you have to understand that people were also taught things in their past that they carry. And I don't take those things personally. And that's the emotional intelligence behind it. And I think as a society, we do lack emotional intelligence because we're not taught. I think that's something that should be taught in school, because if you can master emotional intelligence, none of these things, these limitations we're talking about matter to you. You understand it. It's not the person saying it, right? And I don't hate the person. And sometimes they just got to be re-educated on something that they were taught. That's not necessarily the way the world works.
100%. And I think that grounding yourself or manifesting through, you said, like you mentioned before, I like that example because it's a lot of inner peaceful work. And you're basically ready to face the situation in the best possible mindset, right? Even when it's hard. And life is about facing difficult situations, and we learn from them. Sometimes if we don't face them, it becomes even bigger than it is actually. So we are giving more power to this negative experience. And once it's passed, you realize that it could have been easier once again, and working, on like you mentioned, the somatic work, the breathing work, and I'm sure there are a lot of other techniques are really good tips. I wish sometimes in the past I had that actually to to manage my energy, because you might feel threatened, and it's not always, like you said, it doesn't concern you. It's just beliefs that people carry with them. It's not always about us. Since stepping into real estate, what has changed for you compared to your Army career, both in terms of challenges and in the freedom and opportunities you've discovered?
I always give credit to Keller Williams for my education. And also another thing, I come from the mental health world, right? I had my master's in that when I started. I understood human behavior. I understood, neurology and anatomy. But there was still always something. My personality is real assertive. And as a female, having such an assertive personality doesn't always go over well, especially when, our personality style, I think, is less than 12% of the population. So that doesn't go over well, the directness with most people. And yet if you add that with being a woman leader in the military and you are direct with your male counterparts, it's not like, oh my God, she's an amazing leader. It's like,
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
stigma, or that's the stigma you carry, that you just can't be confident and
Yeah.
assertive. You have to be aggressive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so with being the CEO of Keller Williams, they really do a lot of work with us, understanding personality traits and helping you own your own personality.
Wow.
And so I credit them for helping me fully step into my voice as a more assertive woman,
Yeah.
to say, this isn't a weakness. This isn't a ding against you. This is a strength, and only less than 12% of the people have this. You're unique. You just need to learn how to use it. So in the Army, it was like I was scrapping. I was just fighting against the wall, because I was like, hey, it's who I am. I can't help it. Like, let's just go. Like, if a male was telling you this in the same manner, you'd be like, yeah, let's go. I'm telling you, and you're shrinking down and making it like, oh my God, like you're a problem. But Keller Williams is like, no, that's a strength and you need to celebrate it. Yet this is how you need to strategically use it to put yourself where you want. And so for that, I am eternally grateful to them. And this is not a pitch for them. It's just my experience, right? I'm speaking to you all from the Army. I'm speaking to you all from real estate because I belong to Keller Williams. It's not as a recruiting pitch or anything. It's just the appreciation I have for taking that CE role. I gave up $200,000 a year to take that CEO role. I was making more in real
Wow.
estate. But what I knew is that money isn't everything.
It's true.
I got to learn how to manage that money. I got to learn how to keep that money. And, what I know is I'm a Christian, and I know that God has always opened the doors for me. I believe that. I've had people tell me there's like one of those little light rings around me when I walk. I've always felt that I was protected and guided, and doors open for me that doesn't open for other people. And that could also be that mentality that I'm talking about, that my mom taught me, that, good things happen to me. And that's an affirmation I say, good things come to me. And so I will that from the universe. And so when I really learned how to use that, when I was a CEO, I doubled our agent count in a year. I tripled owner profit. And, people in this town was laughing at the owner for hiring me because I was only a year in real estate. They didn't know I'd already been in the Army, 20 years at that point, and a leader in the Army. They took me for granted because we are 87% Hispanic here. And here's a white Southern girl that's coming in and taking it by storm. And so they always underestimate me, which is also positive, because they say underestimate me, that'll be fun. And that's what happened. And so that's how the full evolution came. And then the military leadership skills and the discipline they taught me, coupled with Keller Williams helping me actually shape that assertive personality into something that I could use to lead better and to get more things I needed with it without having to be like a juggernaut running through a wall. That's where I came full circle.
Wow. You really tapped into your strength and made it happen for yourself.
Yep.
It says a lot about you, but I also love the message for everybody else who's trying to copy someone else who's successful, which is honestly, especially with social media, a lot of people do that. If I look like, if I speak like, if I do like this person, then that means I will be successful too. And the truth is that authenticity and believing in yourself is the only thing that's going to get you through. And you are really the living proof of it. And if your story can give strength to other women to just go for it, I'm very happy, because it's very inspiring.
Yeah. I always say in my other life, I must have been like a Joan of Arc or something, because I've always been the person that stood up for the underdog. And like in high school, if people didn't bully people around me, I was the student council president. And at one time, I was fighting for student rights at one time. I always say it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what we look like. It doesn't matter what side of politics you're on. What is right and what is wrong. Do unto others. And if we just do that for each other, just be good to each other and help each other. We don't have to step on each other to get to the next spot, despite what people show or think. And authenticity wins every time. I know, here I was fighting our real estate board because they were voting on some things that was not good for the board. And, like anywhere else, we got 3,000 agents, only 100 showed up, even cared about the bylaws. So I'm like, I'm fighting for 2,900 other people who don't know better, can't fight the fight. And, I stood up against the popular vote. And, you see it, and they're like even booing. But I'm like, I don't care. Like, boo all you want. This is right, though. And I'm going to fight for it because this is right even for you. The one that's booing in the crowd, you don't even have the sense to understand that this is not good for you. But even though you're booing me, I'm going to fight for you too. And you'll thank me later.
It's funny because people tend to be intimidated by having to fight for their rights or even speak up about what they really think about a situation, and let alone, stand up for someone they don't know to make sure this person is not getting bullied. Where does this self-confidence come from? It sounds
My
like
mama.
you're emotionally
Yeah.
mature. Yes, your mama?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
My mom was like that, strongest woman I knew. And we didn't have a lot of resources growing up, but you couldn't tell her she wasn't a holiday. This is how she lived her life, and she had a servant heart, and she fed people. She had a little Southern cafe that you couldn't even get in the door most days. And every day with the food she had left over, which she homemade, we took that to the elderly people, to the disabled people. There was a orphanage there that we took that to every day. And her whole principle was, we are here to serve each other. Yeah. We're not here to take from each other. And that person's opinion doesn't matter unless they're paying your paycheck. And if they're paying your paycheck, you have a responsibility to them. They have a responsibility to you. And you need to understand that. Don't let them take advantage of you. But you do need to understand that with that comes responsibilities that you have to do, And it really was her, and creating, like I said, that world of, like, she put horse blinders on us. Like, that doesn't matter. What you're trying to create matters. And this is how you navigate people. She was not an educated woman. She didn't graduate high school, but the street smarts, that can't be matched. The common sense, like, she had more common sense than 10 of us. But those are the principles. And I grew up on a farm, and I worked in tobacco, and I drove tractors, and I did that. We just learned different things. It's just a different kind of upbringing, a different kind of life. And we had an amazing family. We all lived on the farm. All my cousins, all my aunts and uncles. We just went from one house to one house. I didn't even knock on the door. I just walked in, and if I wanted something out the refrigerator, if I walked in my aunt's house, I got a drink if I wanted a drink. That's just how we grew up. So we were blessed to have such amazing family and such a support network, and great grandparents that is aided in all of this. And of course, women, you don't know how important it is to choose your spouse. Your spouse makes or breaks you on
you
either
went right
side.
in. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Yeah, because I
She's
didn't
like, by the way,
leave that out. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that out because I'm talking so much about my upbringing that got me to this point.
Yes.
But also, partner with the right spouse then takes you the rest of the way, right? Because you can't do that if you got a spouse that's not willing to do it with you, if they don't support you, if they don't tell you how beautiful, smart, important you are, and vice versa. Yes. It doesn't work. And so many women are in the wrong relationship, and we think that we have to accept it, but we don't. Yeah. We don't. But we've been beat down by life so much that it's just easier to go with what we know than the unknown. But I'm here to tell you that you are important. You are worth it. You are worth a spouse and a friend and an employer that respects you, that sees your worth and helps you achieve the things you want to achieve. If not, going back to what the foundation my mom gave me, she was divorced and she didn't have a lot. So she never wanted me and my sister to be in a position that we had to depend on somebody financially, that you didn't have a choice, right? Because if you have no money, you have no choice. In most cases, you're stuck in most cases.
That's a fact.
I've always had my own money. I've always had my own things that if it didn't work, I didn't have to feel stuck. Yes. So I could create the marriage that I wanted and that I deserved outside of that because I didn't have a restraint.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's what I think teaching women to build wealth through real estate, which we talked about a lot, is one of those things. You can do real estate and be a mom because you do have some flexibility, and you
Yes.
don't have to sell 200 homes a year. You can sell 10 homes a year, be very autonomous, and have your nest egg. And I remember I had this girl on my team, and she was starting, and she called me crying, and she was like, "Hey, I can't start your team." I was like, "Why?" She was like, "I'm moving to Colorado." She said, "My husband just up and told me after 20 years of marriage and me, and he's 20 years in the army about to retire. She's followed him with 4 kids for 20 years. Spouses can't build a career moving every 2 or 3 years with
Right.
kids while you help your husband build his career in the military." And his thing was, "I'm divorcing you because you don't contribute to the house and you don't have a job and I'm just sick of it." Well, what? Wait a minute. Like that. Like you're just going to drop her like that. And they ended up back together, and we helped coach them through that. But here's my point of that is had she not had me at that point in her life, and this is why we're so important to each other women, I said, "I don't care what you do. I'll pay for your course. You can live with me. I don't care what you need to do." I
Wow.
said, "If you trust me, you will make double his income this year." And then you can look at him and say, "I love you and I want it to work." Or you can look at him and say, you know, like it's your choice. Let's make it your choice. Don't move to Colorado and stay in a friend's couch because you don't have a choice. Let's give you a choice. And she did. She doubled his. She beat his income by twice that year because I coached her to do it in real estate. Now their marriage is still intact and they're still together. But imagine just getting a car after 20 years and say, "I want a divorce because you don't contribute," when I followed you around the country for 20 years to build your career.
Yeah.
I don't ever want a woman to be in that position ever. And that is one of my passions with the women on my team is I want you to have a strong, amazing marriage, but I also don't want you to have a marriage that you don't have an option if you're not in a good position,
Right.
and to have your own autonomy, because it feels good to go buy your own pocketbook if you want it, and you don't have to say, "Hey, can I splurge on a pair of shoes?" If that's what you have. And so that's the passion behind teaching the women through real estate. And for our military spouses, I told you we created that referral-based program because if they want to be a stay-at-home mom, or they don't want to get out, or their personality doesn't jive with being forward-facing in a real estate, then they can get licensed to be referral partners. Because, I mean, for a 2-second text, they text me, we close that, we pay them part of our commission. They can make $1,800 to $3,000 off of one file just by referring a person. So there's different ways to do it.
Where do you teach that to women?
Well, here, in anybody that I come across in my circle.
Okay. Do you happen to have like a platform where you speak about these things where women can tune in with you?
I don't.
Oh,
Yours now.
you need one. You need one. I mean, if you want to empower women, and I know it's your mission, you're gonna need to be out there.
I know. I do need to be broader.
It's not just local to your area. When you're referral
Mhm.
agents, you can actually refer from anywhere across the
Oh,
country.
anywhere in the United States. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I tell these spouses, and it's not just in Texas. You can refer anywhere. So if you call me and say your friend is PCS in Fort Gordon, Georgia, well, guess what? We got a partner in Fort Gordon, Georgia that can help them. You're not
Right.
limited. I'm in my first year in real estate, I made $20,000 alone in referrals by referring people to other agents across the country. 20,000 don't seem like a lot, but if you don't have anything, 20 is a lot that a woman isn't stuck.
Yes, yes, yes. And we are good at this. This is something also that I want to put out there. Sometimes women tend to think that men do better because
No.
real estate relates to finances and it relates to construction job but the thing is, first of all, women who have a family, they're already CEOs of their company.
That's it.
Managing a household is the hardest thing. I know CEOs who can manage households. You're budgeting when it comes to groceries. You're disciplining your children. You have a schedule. You're making sure that everything, is like the laundry is happening, like the dropping the children off, and then you still have to think of your parents and then your in-laws and then this and then that. Your life is a real business. And like you mentioned, when it comes to money, it has nothing to do with math. We understand where money comes and goes and how we spend it, and we are good homemakers. A lot of actually contractors that I know that flip houses ask their wives what tiles or what floors should I use for this property, because they know who buys a property. Usually it's the wife who's going to pick the property.
It is.
There you go. So we are hands-on in the process of the real estate transactions. Really, we would be great, but somehow there is like a holdback. We have the impression that it's too difficult, too complicated. And by the way, the class is only 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, online and self-paced, it's scary that you can be licensed in 30 days or less to advise somebody on the most important investment in their life, which is why it is a huge responsibility, and you do owe it to be educated so you can advise buyers and sellers. So you are their advocate. You can stand up for them. You do know your stuff. For our team, education, communication, customer service are our 3 pillars of excellence. You need to do all those things, and I'm fanatical about all 3 because we literally are advising them to sell their home. So I'm selling $600,000 house.
Not
Yes.
not a referral,
Not a referral
agent.
partner.
Referral, you don't do anything. You connect people together, you get the
it.
paycheck if the sales happen, and then there you
That's
go.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
But if you're an agent, don't go in the field playing with people's money without knowledge. 100%.
No. Yeah. Join the right brokers, join a team. Teams are great to jumpstart your career. A good team, there's a lot of not good teams out there. And I'm happy if you post in here, I'm happy to refer you to anybody to interview. Or if you need, a pep talk, I'm happy to do that or help you come up with a plan around this and trying to do that. And then once you start making your own money, then you can jump into being an investor and you can flip a house or you can buy a house. And, a fun stat here is the last 2 years, one of the biggest buyers have been single women. The last 2 years, our biggest buying population nationally has been single women.
And it's an actual fact. You can find it online. Women are taking on real estate. They're the first kind of buyer. And it's incredible to see us thriving as much as that.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us, how did you, what's the dynamic? When did it shift? And what is the dynamic now in real estate that most of your buyers are single women? And even, I think, younger too, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Well, for mine, my biggest buying population is military families. But when we're speaking nationally, I think the shift has happened that, women understand that they can do it. They don't need somebody to do it. And it's pretty simple to buy a house if you got good credit and a job and you can afford it. It is not as hard as people think. But I just think as a whole, we've been supporting each other and we've been preaching that we can do it for so long that it's finally sticking. And let's face it, the traditional marriage is at risk. For women, it's not the same. I seen a meme the other day and I was like, this is so sad, but it's so real because we see it every day. And the meme was a woman standing and she had 2 kids on her. She had the groceries. She had the bills, all the things of running the house was depicted around her in this picture. And the husband was on the couch playing a video game. Yeah. And it says, this is the reality for most women today.
Yes.
Because in the man's mind, and I'm not saying everybody, but it's more and more that you're seeing that they think because they work, they come home and relax and that's video games or football or whatever they do. Meanwhile, she's worked all day, but she's got to get the kids ready for dinner. She's got to get dinner ready. She's got to get them ready for school. She's got to get them in the bath. Why? Why can't he help with that?
But listen to what you said earlier. You said, my mama taught me well. She taught me to be independent. She taught me to not rely on anybody. She taught me to not think too much of what people say. That, she taught you also self-worth. Men don't get this type of education. Men, there is nobody to tell them how to thrive in this world. They still let them go with the old habit and thinking that they will be provider, which they're not able to do anymore. And then, the wife will be all of that. But we women are being taught different now. And I think this is where it starts, at home. It's educating young boys.
It is. We got to get back to the family structure. And even if it's not what we once knew as a traditional. It doesn't matter, but what we got to get back to is the values of family that if we choose to have that. And also remember, women, we teach people how to treat us. So if you are working and you do have all these extra things, then you got to teach your man that, hey, I work too. And we got to have a conversation of what the, responsibilities are here together, because it's our house, our kids, our money. And you have to be okay saying, this is the things I want, and teach him what you need, because it is our job. Again, we get married and we've not been taught really how we see to be a wife is what we've seen in our mother.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best model, and I didn't have that at all, because I had to divorce my mom, and my mom and dad had a lot of domestic violence before they finally divorced. So I didn't have a great model of that at all, other, than like my uncle and aunt that was a Christian family and got the things I needed from others. Luckily, I just knew better. I didn't repeat the cycle. I knew that's not what I wanted. And so I had no problem communicating to my husband what my marriage looked like, what I was looking for in a spouse. I was a single mom at the time myself. I told him what my parenting style was. I was not veering away from that. I told him what my religion was. I was not veering away from that. But when you have autonomy and you not rely on anybody else, you can dictate what that looks like for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And thankfully that, we were yoked on that. But if he had not, if we were dating and those things were not yoked, I would not have married him. We would not have been together. If he wasn't willing to learn with me to be a good spouse, and willing to learn with me to be a better, and to work with me to build the things that I wanted to build, and vice versa, there's no way I would have never married him. And maybe my life would have looked different, because maybe I don't know. What I know is that we can design our lives. Yes. And we need to take control of the design of what our life looks like. And you need to be purposeful about designing your spouse, designing what you want your life to look like with your kids, because you can design it. It doesn't just have to happen. Now we're all on autopilot and like, well, that's just life. No, it's not. That's the life you've accepted.
It's true. Don't settle. Don't settle. Make sure you're always making the most of. We have only one life. There is nobody else to live it for us. Mm-hmm. Let's make the most of it. And I'll say one more thing about marriage. Honestly, it's important. I actually had, and I don't want to stay too long on that, because I still want to pick your brain on certain things. Basically what happens is that, I spoke to an intimacy coach a few months ago, and she was saying about how much men show up in her office to ask for counseling, but women won't make the first step, and they will be quick on asking for a divorce. She said also that women are not good at communicating. Listen to that. I was like, really? She was like, no, really. They're not good at communicating their needs. They're good at shutting down. They're good at accepting the situation the way it is. And when it's like a volcano and it erupts, it's almost too late. But you can teach your partner. And the thing is, you have to. Reason being, it's not linear. You will never be the same woman that you were when you married that person. You are going to evolve 1,000 different ways, and it's going to be the same for him. If you cannot have this conversation to find yourself, along that path, you will always face a time from where you're going to want to separate. Yes, exactly.
I think the studies show we grow every 5 years. So you have to be purposeful every year, sitting with your spouse to design what the next year looks like in the 5-year plans over and over. And it takes a lot of work to have a good marriage.
And it's so important to have this conversation, because you will see if this person is reluctant to be a good husband at that very moment. Or be a good wife if now you are with a woman. It really doesn't matter who you are with. It's really all about being able to communicate. I think it's the same with your children and with everybody else anyways. It's all about relationships. What I was on the way to say. So yeah, I want to go ahead, and just because we are here really to empower women, we don't have a lot of time left, but I know you're so successful, and I want women to be able to understand that they can pick up the phone and give you a call or reach out to you to learn more about this. But you average about 200 closings a year. So I want to ask you, what system and habits have been crucial to your level of success?
Yeah. The habit is the discipline, right? The showing up every day. I think real estate's harder for people because we are independent contractors. There's no punching the clock. There's nobody there to say, are you showing up today? And so if you're not disciplined and you cannot show up for yourself every day, that's going to be tough. And then accountability. If you don't have self-accountability and you don't have the ability to hold others accountable around you, then that's going to be a thing that hurts you. And then you got to have confidence to do it. We get told no a lot. I mean, we're not selling Mary Kay, we're selling houses. So we get hung up on, we get, cussed at, and that's okay. I get it. No's get me to yes. And again, it's about that mindset. Other than that, of course, we have systems because we're a team that we use real estate systems that, we could talk about for a long time, but like our CRM, the way we, the contract to close management systems that we have, and the amazing people that we staff is what our superpowers are that helps us be able to do that large of a load. You get people and systems change your life.
I want to ask you also, how can women support one another more effectively in both career, but also financial growth?
Yeah, I love that. I think that, one, if you have to ask somebody for the money to do it, you may be more reluctant to do it. So if you're creating your own resources that you can do it, one, you got to have access to capital. And how do you get that? We all think that we need $100,000 in the bank to buy a house, but you don't. There's other people's money that you can use. Like when you flip a house, you can do a hard money loan. And some of them will finance the whole thing. Some of them will finance 95% of it. You just have to have it. So one, access to the capital. Two, I know I go back to confidence, but you do have to have confidence to take the first step to do it, and a risk perception of that. But again, I don't want you to go today and buy a house that you're going to flip with no education, but you got to surround yourself with women doing it. A lot of where we live, no matter where we are, there's groups already that's formed. So you got to network. You got to get in those groups. If you want to be a millionaire, you got to hang out with a millionaire. You can't hang out with somebody making $60,000 a year. You got to go where those people are hanging out, because you got to be in those circles to learn from them. I always say, don't tell me no, tell me how. I am a data gatherer. So it's no different than if you wanted to be a school teacher, if you wanted to be a therapist, or if you wanted to be a tech person, right? We have to learn how to do it. So take the first step to learn. Take the second step to find your tribe there that's doing it to teach you, and then start building your plan to do it.
And I'm going to add something else. Make sure you offer something as you receive as well, because I've noticed so networking events are amazing. Women woke up to each other to grow together. There is something about women who decided to take on their financial journey that puts them in a situation where there is no jealousy, there is no competition. We're really there to say, you like me, right? You here because we are going to make this happen, right? I love that about it.
We can be the worst to each other. Ugh.
Yeah, in every other setting, we are the worst to each other. But I've noticed when it comes to financial freedom, I promise you, the energy is there. We're here to conquer. I'm not even kidding. And I love that about women, because this is what's a patriarchal society has suppressed in us, this ability to show up for each other and then become this force, right? And I would say, yes, don't feel intimidated if you don't know. Just go to networking events and start listening, asking questions, learning. Be honest about your situation. I don't know anything. I just want to learn. And you know what? This could be instead of going, I don't know, watch a movie or something like that, you just go to those events on meetup.com. You have Bigger Pockets, you have Eventbrite, you have a lot of networking events. So show up for yourself.
And I want to share a girl's name with y'all. Let me find it right quick. So excuse me while I'm looking up, but I want to find her. I've been listening to her a lot lately. Sorry. And it's what, she talks about teaching you how to speak confidently and how to be in a room. So like if you've never networked, you've never gone in, what do you say to people when you walk up to them? Most often we say the wrong things, but what is her name? Vanessa Van Edwards. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
She's amazing. So if y'all Google her on YouTube, again, Vanessa Van Edwards. She has amazing advice on how to talk confidently, how to feel confident, be confident. Because remember, ladies, confidence is a feeling first. You got to feel it first. And so you got to remove the barriers that's got you all hung up on this, or you've allowed to, beat you up on it. You've got to first feel it. And it doesn't matter. It ain't skinny, pretty. That ain't it. Dr. Phil proved to us that you could be 400 pounds and not the prettiest one in the room, but you could still be the most likable and the most magnetic in the room, because it's how you own the room. It's the feeling of the confidence you portray when you walk in. So you got to own it. You got to be okay owning it. And I've always been okay owning it.
You have a lot of charisma. I'm going to say that you're also very beautiful, but this is not what matters. I want to put that on top. It's not what matters. It's really that you're right. It's about the charisma, because there is like an aura around it. It's magnetic. This is the manifestation you were talking about.
Yep.
And it doesn't have anything to do with looks.
Yeah. And how I'm on your show. I mean, you posted, hey, I do this show. Anybody want to be on the show? I said, I want to be on the show, right?
It is true. By the way, it's true. I was looking for guests and I decided to go online, and I was like, where can I find incredible women? And I put an ad online, and Chasity, you answered. So that's why we're here. So this is how we do. And just the fact that you're willing to spend time with me on this show to educate women and empower women, it's just, once again, the type of energy we when you go out there and you're looking for a woman, this is what happens. It's like a real exchange. And you're missing out if you're not doing it. So put yourself out there 100%.
Do it.
And I want to ask you, looking back at your very first real estate investments, what did that teach you?
Oh, I was so scared. And I've missed opportunities for being scared, because I am not a risk taker with money. I am not. And what it taught me was I should have done it sooner. I shouldn't have lost the opportunities I did. That's really what it taught me, that, I sell so many homes. Why am I scared to do this? Because of, the hangups that I have to work through about money, and the scarcity mindset of hoarding all my money, and just in case I need to pay a bill. Because there was a time that I couldn't pay my house payment, and I was like, I'll never be there again. And so some of that is the things I have to work through. We all have things. And what I learned is this is easy with the right resources and knowledge, and I can do it again. And now we have 7, and my goal is to get 10 more. And I want financial freedom, and financial freedom means to me that I don't have to worry about paying my bills, that I have money coming in that can pay my basic needs. I don't need $1 million a month. I just need enough to live and travel and take care of, giving my grandkids in the future things. And if my kids need something, or they're challenged with something, that I can't look at my kid and say, I can't help you.
If you could give one piece of advice to a woman just starting her journey toward financial independence, what would that be?
Reiterating what you said, finding a tribe, because it starts there. You've got to have wind behind yourselves, and those women will be that wind. So you got to start with the tribe and the education, and then it will evolve for you from there. And remember, don't forget to design it. You got to design what you're looking for. You got to design the people. You got to design the path. And that will evolve as you learn more.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Chasity. Tell me more about also how to reach out to you, how people can reach out to you. I will add it in the description as usual. You know me, I always say that, but it's true. Everything is going to be in the description down below. I want to be able to hear it from you as well.
Yep. Email me. My email is Chasity at PCS El Paso. Oh, sorry. We changed it. Chasity at PCS Network. And that's CHASITY at P as in Papa, C as in Charlie, S as in Sam, network.com.
Wonderful. And you're also on Instagram and on Facebook,
Instagram,
right?
Facebook. Yes, reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back. You can direct message me there. Sorry. I'm also on TikTok.
Really? Wonderful. Oh, that I'm going to start following you. I didn't know that.
Yep,
okay, so all the valuable
information
is there. You have shorts there and short clips. Okay, wonderful. I didn't know that.
On YouTube too. I should do more about the investing. That's one of my goals this year, because a lot of it's more lifestyle. I'm so eclectic. I love teaching people to do better than they know how to do. And that's if there's a sale or if there's a great food hack, so my TikTok's very eclectic.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Thank you again for being here with us today. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for sharing so much and being so authentic. You have an incredible charisma and aura. It was a real pleasure.
Likewise, I appreciate you. And to all the women out there, go get what you deserve.